Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. And unrest is definitely gearing up far greater in eastern Ukraine there. Both sides, both Russian-backed forces inside of Donetsk, Luhansk have been shelling the Ukrainian positions there, as well as Ukrainian forces backed by NATO forces have been shelling back across the line against Donetsk and Luhansk regions there. Now, the footage you're seeing is a file photo, or file video rather, that we're sharing here with you on this here. But according to several different news outlets there, the fighting has increased to a level not seen since February of 2017. I want to share with you here what the State Department is saying on this issue right now, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on here to begin with. Let me just quickly bring that up to your attention here. Let's listen in.
Violence in eastern Ukraine. Last night, Russian-led forces shelled the town of Novohonsk with Grad rockets, wounding 8.
I'm not the only one that has a hard time saying these names.
School and also a playground. Fighting also resumed today around the Donetsk filtration station and its system of pipes carrying poisonous chlorine gas. This is considered extremely dangerous.
Now, it's kind of interesting that the U.S. State Department is now making this statement here. And, of course, as we can see here, according to this satellite photo, it is alleging that Russian-led forces are as close as 500 meters from the Donetsk water filtration plant. They need a ceasefire withdrawal of heavy weapons as soon as possible per the Minsk agreement. And I just find that kind of ironic, because no one on the Ukrainian under Petro Poroshenko being backed by U.S. and other NATO allies have honored anything when it comes to the Minsk agreement. We have reported on this extensively as the years have gone by, even showing how that weapons have been supplied, heavy weapons have been supplied, tanks and everything. They have continually to attack against eastern Ukraine citizens, finally to the point to where this group has become a separatist part of the region, and Russia has acknowledged them as a separatist nation, even giving them Russian rubles as their currency now. But it is a very, very difficult situation in this part of the world. And of course, not only, and again, I don't know who started this part of the conflict as of now. I know the West is saying that it was Russian-backed forces there, even Russian forces directly involved in this. And as well, we know the Grad launch rockets were used as well against the Donetsk region here, as we can see in this video footage here that I'll play for you here, that they're showing their video footage there of Grad rockets coming in. Some 40 rockets have fell inside of Donetsk there. The Grad rockets, they're pretty heavy size artillery that's being used. And of course, in the Donetsk, Luhansk region, it is always the civilian populations that are really catching the brunt of what's happening there. So again, makes me kind of wonder. I know we talked about Russian forces pulling out of Syria because of the possibility that the Arab nations may come against Israel, and Russia just trying to get out of the way. But as I see the information that's happening here and the build-up there, it kind of makes me wonder if it's not possibly Russia getting ready to defend their own frontier, especially with the rise of the latest tensions there. Speaking of that, and then another reason why I kind of go to this is a little bit older here, but this video here put up by Michael D. on his Twitter page there, showing yet another huge convoy of military equipment arriving at Latvia. And again, the military buildup on Russia's border is unprecedented of any other time in the history since the Cold War there. So it's very troubling to see this. Croatian armed forces, members of their military has arrived at, Lithuania, not Latvia, but Lithuania, to join the NATO battle group led by German and the Baltic forces there. So very disturbing information we continue to see. And I kind of bring this out because some articles here that I've been looking at too. North Korea, the scapegoat, China, the real target of U.S. Navy buildup in the Pacific. Again, we have to remember the scriptural look at this, where it speaks about tidings out of the east, now the north trouble him. That's the king of the north that is troubled by these tidings, and that's China and Russia that are the troubling point here for NATO's king that they're using. And we see this, like in this case here, the Chinese military experts believe the U.S. is using North Korea as a cover to deploy more ships to curb Beijing's military aspirations. And there may be some founded grounding for this, because if you look at like the article here on RT, many people are carrying this article already, Pakistan considers dumping dollar for the yuan in trade with China. Now, of course, Pakistan's not that big of a nation, but there's a lot of other nations already dumping the dollar for the Chinese yuan as a trading currency. And even though President Trump has touted that the U.S. economy is on the upswing with a 3% increase, we have noticed ourselves in Europe, we've not seen a single bit of increase in value in the U.S. dollar. In fact, the U.S. dollar is down by about 20% in value of that of about 4 years ago. Now, that's just what we see when we go to the ATM machine, to do a withdrawal. It's about a 20% difference in the Czech Republic. And that pretty much carries across even with the euro. So it's very, very shaky indeed, very troubling. We'll also have this article here on the globalsearch.ca. Trump calls China a rival power. And of course, that's infuriated China to get that type of information set against it. But said it's called China a revisionist country, a rival state, a strategic competitor, and potentially jeopardizing bilateral relations the way they should be. President Trump is very aggressive when it comes to the trade relations, and I can understand because China has had an upper hand. But at the same time, with the threat of the dollar being, the petrodollar being exchanged for the Chinese yuan, I can certainly see where things are declining very rapidly, and not in a way that is very favorable for the U.S., especially the possibility of war. And that's about the only way they'll be able to prop up the dollar. Then we have this other article that comes out as well, very troubling indeed, on New Eastern Outlook. Brace for impact. Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the U.S. are about to invade Syria. Now, it's not the direct invasion, but it looks like, according to the article here, that the U.S. is once again training proxies, including ISIS militants, other different groups there. They're talking about the different bases that have been set up inside of Syria, and that Russia has been warning that this buildup of new rebel forces are getting ready to try to take down Bashar al-Assad once again. This time claiming in the article, though, that Israel as well will go in after Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and even through from Jordanian's southern side of the border there, Israel will actually invade in there, trying to break the Syrian military that has built a greater stronghold. In fact, they're saying that Israel will target Hezbollah and Iranian forces inside of Syria, while the Free Syrian Army and ISIS militants that the U.S. they claim are training there inside of Jordan and other bases east of the Jordan River will actually go against the Assad forces there. So Syria is definitely still on the plate. Russia has backed out, and of course the article claims that through the vacuum of Russia pulling their own troops out, this is what's going to give the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel the ability to take to pull in through that vacuum and once again launch a campaign against them. Syria's President Bashar al-Assad accuses France of sponsoring terrorism. In fact, President Assad is saying that France has no place, speaking about peace or a negotiating table to discuss peace regarding Syria, because of their hands being soaked with Syrian blood. I'm sure that would probably also fall on the hands of many other nations that are presently trying to, as they claim, fight ISIS in the region. So we'll just have to see how that goes. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, and tomorrow we should have some of these other videos up that we've been talking to you about, sharing with you, but it'll be on Danoon Institute, so be sure to check out our channel, Danoon Institute. I'm Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live.